Greatest fear in life. Time to work on.
Stop.
The Delaware Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, no, the Delaware Rock and Roll Society is here to talk with Bill Davis, who was a performer in his own right and also ran the drum shop, sponsoring and creating a place and a community and all the resources for the music industry. Back in, about what year, Bill?
We started there in '68.
Okay, started in '68, and I think it was pretty much the only place in Wilmington
It was.
to get musical supplies. Okay, and so we're going to be here asking some questions, getting some stories, and it'll be fun. You, as a musician in your own right,
Yeah.
tell me what you played, when you started.
I am a bass player. I started in high school when we had high school bands. We had a high school band called the Illusions, and we played a lot of local venues and parties.
Like
we were-
where, when you
we
say
were-
local venues?
Well, we were too young to play in bars. We were 16, 17 years old. But we were playing in different clubs, Elks clubs, Wham's dances. We played a lot of Wham's dances. Wham's was the big radio station then. They had Friday night dances. We played, my big claim to fame was we played a Heart Fund show at the Wilmington Armory.
Oh, yes.
And
I
Bill
remember
Haley and the
that.
Comets were the main act there, but there were lots of other groups and people who were in that show. I'm not gonna be able to call a single name, but it was a big deal. It was a big fun thing. And
Yeah.
we played that.
Lot of dances at the Armory. I always hear about the
Yeah.
dances at the Armory. That was cool. And Bill Haley, of course, is no longer with us, but Johnny Kay, his guitarist, is still around, still playing. We put him in. He ended up in Al Santoro's.
Yeah, he played with Al for a long time.
Yeah, yep. So he went in the first year. Al Santoro with Johnny Kay went in. And you can still keep your eyes open. You can still find Johnny Kay playing, you know, lots of different events.
Yeah, he was very good too.
There, that's neat to be able to say from one musician to another. That's neat. I'm glad that you said that. So, were your parents musicians?
No.
Did you just, so you picked up the bass because you knew you could get girls?
Well, actually, yes. Yes, indeed. I actually picked up guitar, but I wasn't really very good on guitar. And so in this band, the Illusions, they needed a bass player, and the lead guitarist who ran the band, his name was Joe Samblock. He said, "Go sell your guitar and buy a bass." Well, in those days, and this is there really wasn't anybody who played bass. It was not. Everybody thought a bass was the big upright bass violin, and there were a couple of people who played electric bass, Fender bass they called it, and so there was this little music store on Tatnall Street. It was called Ned's, 9th and Tatnall, and he carried this brand called Dan Electro. It was a really well-made, cheap instrument. It was a bass, cost $85. So somehow or another I got together $85 and I went and bought one of these basses. And there we were. The band, in history things of music, there was a band called Johnny and the Hurricanes that had a couple records out. And the bass player in that band used one of these Dan Electros.
Okay.
So we used that, and then so I started playing bass. I found out I was really pretty good on bass, so I've been playing bass ever since. Then what happened was really neat, because I was a bass player, and I had some musical smarts. All these old men bands were around who wanted a bass player, but nobody had a bass player wanted to carry a big bass around in their vehicles. We didn't have SUVs in those days. So I was playing with all these older guys, and I was doing lots of weddings and things, and they were old to me. They were probably in their 30s or 40s. I was 16, so 17. And so I learned a lot of music from these guys, working with these guys, which kept me working. So I worked a lot more than any of my contemporaries because I was playing bass, which was a required instrument, And nobody needed a guitar player. There were a million drummers. So I got to work a whole lot.
That's so cool. Who were the other illusions?
Joe Sama, Corky Stroman, you know Corky Stroman?
No.
Corky was the organist. Richie Schultz was the drummer. Joe was the guitar player. That was it. 5 pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So
so
we should
cool.
band after that. The
Oh,
one you
come
and
on.
Eddie were in,
On one me and Eddie were in. We were in Gold Rush.
Gold Rush.
Okay. And Eddie's last name?
Robichaux.
Eddie Robichaux.
He went
Lois
by
is
Rob,
telling us-
Ed Rob.
Okay, Ed Rob. Okay. He was your other proprietor. The two of
Hey,
you
we were
ran
partners
the
in-
drum shop.
Yeah, when the original owner found how much money he was making, he moved to Florida and opened a store in Florida, and Eddie and I bought the business from him.
Okay. So it was on 9 then?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on 9. Very cool. Whoa, I just spaced something I was gonna ask. Okay, so 9th and Tatnall was it?
No. Our store was on Delaware Avenue, a block up from Trolley Square.
Oh, okay. You bought the business Neds, but you changed the location?
No, the store I bought the base was another store. It
Oh,
was
gotcha. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm turned around here.
No, we were on 1815 Delaware Avenue, block up from Trolley Square, before it was Trolley Square.
Right.
Who were some of your customers?
Oh, come on, love, that was
Everybody.
50 years. Everybody went there because it was the
Johnny
only
Neal.
store. Yeah, Johnny, all the guys, all the Maftanos in that band, and we also, as we're thinking on, the big hot spot in those days was the Anvil Inn.
Yes.
And all the guys from the Anvil Inn would come there because they need regular equipment. We got real friendly with a lot of them and got to know them.
Sure, they were your community. If you
Yeah.
owned the store, you were there all day.
Right.
You were there all day. Now, as you looked at the flyer for our STARS event coming up on March 1st, okay, you noticed Blue Kaz, and you had something funny to say about it. Will you tell that
Oh,
story?
man, I'm embarrassed to say it.
No, he'll laugh.
Louis and Paul Borelli, there was a club on 6th Street called Borelli's, and they ran music on weekends, but it was on Sunday nights too. And Louis was the main attraction there, and everybody in Little Italy and all that came. Louis was just so good. He was just such a great performer. And but anyhow, because of working in the sub shop all week before he went there and played, whenever we went in there to play, the piano keys smelled like onions. They smelled like a sub. You could smell subs on the stage.
That is shit.
And that still makes people happy in Ellesmere, because Pasopolis is still there and Lou still is there, making sure everything happens right. Yeah, the family does the work there. So, did you have any idea that you might, do you have any focus on becoming famous?
The reason that I worked in a music store was to pay for my habit of trying to be a star.
Okay.
Because you didn't make any money trying to be a star, particularly if you were locked into the Wilmington, Chester, Lancaster area. There just wasn't a lot of money in that. So in trying to do something there, you had to support your habit. And,
Understood.
and so we worked in a music store.
And so what venues do you recall, other than Borelli's, in the area and the Anvil Inn?
We played in all those places, every club around here, everyone, the Brass Rail, Joe Remedio's, the Sulky, Jefferson Inn.
Oh, gosh. The fire halls.
We played all the fire halls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Now, earlier when we were just visiting, I heard you say something about, not having played in a while, but you played with Richie and Richie Mediato and the Hurricanes,
I was
who
a
are
Hurricane.
also inducted. Okay, tell us about that.
That was great fun. I hadn't played in years. I was working a job. I was a sales manager at a furniture store. And Richie came in one day, and I thought he was going to buy something. He comes up, he says, can I talk to you a minute? I said, he's going to ask me for a deal. Sure, Richie. He says, I'm putting the Hurricanes back together to play New Year's Eve at the
Three Little Bakers.
Three Little Bakers Dinner Theater. He says, and the old bass player I had, his name was Frank, I forget his last name, was moved to California. And he says, we're gonna have Joe Allegro, we're gonna have Gus Perotti. And he says, I'd like you to play bass. And I thought it was gonna be really fun because I hadn't played in so long just to do it. But what he said to me was what was funny. He said, do you still play? And I said, I haven't played in a long time. He says, can you still play? I said, I'll try. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can still sing.
Well, we end up asking that question of a lot of our inductees when we're first meeting them. So that's not, that's a real cute one, but it's a standard for us. So who were your idols?
What got me playing guitar was Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, Little Richard. I always tended toward the blacker, if that's a usable term these days,
Race music.
music that was out. I wasn't into very much. The white music was really silly, and I really liked just the rhythm and blues of the black music. That's why Lois showed us a picture of Mitch Thomas. We used to watch Mitch Thomas every Saturday afternoon. He had a dance show, and he could hear all of the black music that really wasn't being played a lot on the radio. But yeah, when I heard Chuck Berry, and this was the same story we told you tonight, when I heard Chuck Berry play the song School Days, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to play like that.
I love it. What did your parents say?
They hated it.
Oh,
They hated it.
oh wow. But they,
Because, and again, it was racially bad times in those days. They said, all you want to do is play that black music. I said, that's what I like. I like that black music.
yeah, and great. That's great dance music. Great dance music in that era. Yeah. Okay, so the name of your band, The Illusions, where'd you get the name?
I don't know where that came from.
Somebody just said, how about?
They had a list of names and they said, okay, we're going to go with The Illusions.
Okay, anybody else from that group who's still playing?
I don't know about Corky.
Okay.
Wow.
I would think if he's still alive, he's still playing. He was a musician from,
Yeah, dedicated,
yeah.
died in the war.
And what he did is after, again, time passes, and he was playing in one of the islands. I don't know if it was Jamaica or one of those islands, and he ended up buying a club there.
Oh, boy.
And I think he called it Corky's, if I'm not mistaken. And Chuck White's another one to play with a lot too.
I know that name. I don't know why.
Chuck passed maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
He was a keyboard player, and one night I was in bed sleeping. About 2 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings when you had real phones. I jumped up and answered the phone. I said, "Who's this?" He said, "Bill, this is Chuck White." I said, "Chuck White." I said, "It's 2 o'clock in the morning. What the hell you want?" He said, "Well, I just got home from the job. I want you to play in my band."
All right.
I said, "Chuck, can you call me tomorrow?"
Yes.
But we did, and then with Chuck, we played a big venue. We played a lot down at Lou Inears, down in Lewis. We played in Lancaster. We played in Boston one time. I was still in college at this time. I was still in college, and I commuted to Boston one Friday afternoon to play there for the weekend. Bad story. But we played like just the basic local road stuff. It was good. It was good.
Right. And what was it I said to my husband the other day? Fill up your heart with joy. Yeah. Playing fills up your heart with joy. If you're loving it.
JP's place.
Yeah, we played there
JP's
100
place.
times.
Okay.
In Pennsylvania.
Okay. Like just over the line there.
Wow.
Right over the railroad tracks
Oh, I
on
know,
Hammond
when
Road.
Connie Skidmore was around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was she just was she a buddy or was she a musician
She was
as
a
well?
friend.
Okay.
Well, in one of the bands, her boyfriend,
Oh,
when we
yeah.
met her, was my bass. Then I switched to guitar
Oh,
because
right.
for playing, but He was the bass player, her boyfriend.
That's right.
Okay, and what was his name?
Mike Gillen.
Mike Gillen. Okay, so many names.
Mike went on to play, that song, the car song, not the Cars.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name, but he went to play with a pretty famous local group.
Okay.
And
It'll come. Lois Lipton Parker and Janice Davis are sitting here with me as well at the table, and they keep, their memories keep being jogged.
Oh, I must have it. The Kit Kats.
No,
Riding around my automobile with their.
no, it wasn't the Kit Kats, but I can't think of it.
It'll
Oh,
come,
okay.
maybe before we finish, it'll come. Did you guys make any records?
We made a couple.
Okay, do you still have copies of them?
Nah, no, I don't.
Okay,
One of them was funny. It was a funny, very funny situation. It was with Andy Urkel, who was Andy and the Gigolos.
yes, he sure was.
Wanted to manage our group. This was still, was it still in the Illusions days? It might have been in the Illusions, but Joe had already left the Illusions by then, and Paul Grandel was the guitar player. Paul is another fabulous guitarist. And so anyhow, Wham's radio was still the big deal in those days. And there was a guy on the radio, one of the DJs, his name was Fat Pat Patterson. And he wanted to make a record. So he had heard us at the dances and things. So Andy had hooked it up that we were going to go with him to make a record. And what he wanted to do was remake That'll Be the Day. And so we all had to sit down and learn all the real parts to That'll Be the Day. And we went up to the studio in Philly, and at the time, they were doing a lot of the black acts up there. I can't remember even the name of who did it, but they were recording the song. Oh my God, South Street.
Yeah.
They were recording the song South Street in there.
The Orlons?
The Orlons.
The Orlon, yeah?
And a buddy of mine who I played off and on with, Ernie Watts, was doing the session with him. He says, "Come on in and play with us on the set." I said, "I can't, I didn't," yeah. So I played a couple notes on it. So I always say, yeah, I was on the record South Street, the Orlons. But I don't think I really was. It was just me warming up with Ernie Watts.
Love it.
But Ernie went on to become very famous.
Yes.
He was the sax player on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson for years. And he played with Lionel Hampton for years. He was just a monster. One time I was out in Vegas, and I went out there to see Lee Ritenour. We were in the music business. Lee Ritenour, very famous guitarist.
Yeah.
And he was in Lee Ritenour's band at the time, and we regrouped for a minute or two. It was good stuff.
Nice, nice. When we first started talking about doing doing something in Delaware, doing the Delaware Rock and Roll Society, so many people said, "You're gonna run out of acts in 2 years. What are you going to do beyond that?" And we said, "You have no idea. There are endless musicians. If we just took the names that you have already listed, the people, and work to sit down and do a video with them and hear their stories and whatever, we'd be busy nonstop for a year." And that's just the the edge of it. That's just the absolute edge of it. Now, Ernie Watts is somebody who we want to connect with eventually, because he's Delaware rock and roll music royalty.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he played with the Rolling Stones. I saw him in Candlestick Park.
Yeah.
Ah,
I wouldn't be surprised. As I say, he was a studio guy for the most part. He did a lot of things.
Gotcha. Well,
Is he still in?
he's still
There's
alive.
another name. the guy from the University of Delaware. Okay, never mind.
Maybe it'll float back up. Maybe it will float back up, yeah, absolutely. So, when you were traveling, you know, as a musician, as a, you know, bass player, whatever, what was the funniest story that you remember?
They were all funny stories at the time. I don't remember any of them
Well,
right
you'll
off
have-
the top of my
you'll-
head. I don't.
You'll have to beat the trade winds who told us about the guy who had, the Italian guy who had a really nice club somewhere in this area and had a huge water fountain. And he was such a jerk and he treated them so badly. So the water fountain somehow, and nobody knew how it happened, ended up with a squirt or two of lemon dishwashing liquid in it. And there were bubbles all over
That's
the
a good
ball,
story.
all over the ballroom. Okay, and we laughed like crazy at that one. So
No, I don't have one for that. Don't have
okay. Okay. Now, did you guys do what kind of uniform did you have? Did you all wear tuxes? Did
it. In the
you
early days, we all wore tuxes.
pastel tuxes?
Better than that. With the illusions, we had two changes. We had a white tux or white dinner jacket with black slack, but the lapels were red Scotch plaid.
Oh, neat.
Okay. We got them from Andy and the Gigolos. That was theirs, and so we picked that. Then we went to this place and we had tuxedos made, and they were just so cool. Even today, you see people wearing it. It was a black and blue, maybe gray, plaidish, not a real plaid, but little tiny plaids, iridescent.
Oh,
It
man.
was iridescent, so whichever way you look at it, it did all that stuff. And it had black lapels.
Oh,
They were,
crazy.
we might even have pictures of that somewhere, if we ever dug out where our
That
pictures
would be
are.
great to see. That would be
Yeah,
great to
but
see.
that was, and then from then on, it was just when you know, you wore jeans and everything. Till we got to this band, Calliope, and we were a class act.
Can you hold that up next to him?
She
Wait,
can't.
would you, oh,
Yeah.
forget it. He's gonna get this fabulous picture.
This was a class band. And
Yeah, they were great.
we played,
And that is you
that's me, and
Vic
Kitchen.
Holbeck.
Vic
and
Holbeck.
Kit, the chair, so we see everybody.
Good.
Cool.
All right, great.
Got it,
Thank you.
super.
It's,
And so we started playing, and again, this was an occasion band. We did mostly weddings and parties and things like that. But one night, we had a party at a club that has since gone defunct. It was down at the waterfront, right on the end of Walnut Street, right where
Waterworks,
the
you
water
mean?
pumping station is. It was called the Waterworks.
You got it.
And it catered to a little higher end clientele. They were all yuppies. They, you know, the lawyers and all those kind of people were down there. And the wife of the owner,
Bobby Fry.
Bobby Prine,
Whoa.
Bobby.
Good girl.
Bobby loved us. And so they made us the house band. We made an arrangement with them that we would play there whenever we didn't have another gig. So like if we were doing a wedding, we'd be making $300-400. They were paying us like $50.
Yeah,
So, but we made the agreement, and they were perfectly good with it, that we could play there, and if we had a wedding or something, we just didn't play that night. And so it was a great arrangement. And so it was me and Vic and Ann, and we played there for a couple of years, I guess.
Yes, and it led to.
And so anyhow,
For the governor.
Bobby was I don't know what her specific title was, but she was involved with government things. And so when they reopened the Wilmington train station the first time, that's the first remodeling, which I'm gonna say was probably about 82 or thereabouts, they had a grand reopening, and she got us in there. And of course, that led to lots of jobs. But the big deal that she got us is we played for the lieutenant's governor at the time, who just got nominated, just got elected. We played for his inaugural ball.
Classy, very nice.
Yeah,
Upper crust.
they had a big band there. Can't remember who it was, but Joe Allegro was in that band. Joe was playing in that band, and we alternated. We play for an hour, they play for an hour. But it was pretty cool. But that's the kind of stuff she got us. She got us really nice jobs.
Wonderful connections.
Yeah, she was one. She passed away too. That was
Wonderful connections.
when she passed away. That place went to hell.
Oh,
And
wow.
Frank, their husband, just couldn't. And she maintained the ambiance of the place.
She was the energy.
Gotcha. God, she was the driving force.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens. When helping out a friend with her shop on Main Street, and one of her employees are college girls, because Main Street in Newark is so, it's all college energy. And so I'm talking to this gal and talking about how fun George is, because he plays a kazoo, but you'd swear it's a saxophone. She said, I would like to hear that. She said, I know what a good saxophone sounds like, because my grandfather played saxophone. And I said, here in this area? And she said, oh yeah. And I said, well, what was the name of the band? She said, oh, it was an old band, you probably wouldn't know it. I said, try me. She said, oh, it was called Ernie and the Gigolos. And I was like, of course I know Ernie, she's his granddaughter. So we were able, and she didn't have any pictures, so we were able to, give her a poster and whatever. And
So
there's
who was it? Bobby Frinsky? There was Bobby. There was
her
Jake Cirillo.
her last name, I don't know if her connection's through her mom or through her dad, but her last name's Romano. Okay, anyway, yeah, so Ernie and the Gigolos.
Andy was in it.
Andy, and what am I doing? Andy,
Yeah.
I know the name.
Andy was a
Andy
wonderful,
Irvin.
wonderful guy too. He was
Yeah.
he was a wonderful, wonderful guy.
What was his last name? Erico or something?
Ercole, E-R-C-O-L-E.
Yeah.
He-
He's on to the TV.
He has.
Yeah, even at the end of his life, he was
Yeah.
still doing, what we called cable TV back then.
Yeah.
When we were on it.
Oh yeah, we were on.
They
we
were
were
on it.
I'll be darned, okay?
Yeah.
As I see it.
As I see it.
Yeah.
I know we do have something of that somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got videos of
We
us
have
doing
videos.
that.
we'll have to trade, because we do too, as well.
And I just remember Jake Cirillo and Bobby Frinsky being the two sax players, but there was another one.
Okay,
I can't remember.
another one in the area.
Who was in the other band? I keep forgetting the name. The band you were in with Eddie, what was that called?
Gold Rush.
Gold Rush. Who was in that?
Gene Quasiari was the guitarist.
Jimmy Hudson, probably, right?
No.
No?
Oh.
Of
No,
all
no,
the songs you played, what was your favorite? If somebody said play your favorite song, or there might be three, What you really enjoy playing?
One of the ones I did with Ann. My love, there's only you in my life. What was the name of that? The only thing that's right, my first love.
My first love, my last love.
I wanna spend all my life with you. No one else will do.
Look at how romantic you are.
Oh, he is.
Because you didn't say Rockin' Robin or anything like that. You said a song that's
No,
really beautiful.
I wish I had that video just to show you guys of us playing
yeah.
when we did that thing on Andy's show. It was an election night. What was crazy about it, it was an election night. So all of the TV stations had election junk on it. So people were coming up to us for weeks, and then even later.
Was it My First Love?
Saying, oh, we saw you on that show. I said, nobody watches that show on channel, whatever it was, 77. But I said that everybody was watching it because it was election night, so everybody was channel flicking to get something other than election results.
Yes, yes, perfect. It was perfect timing for
Yeah.
you guys. Absolutely. Let's see, so what other instruments did you play?
That's all. I'm a bass player.
A bass player,
I
and a little guitar, you
I
said?
can do very little guitar, but
And it's called My Endless Love.
endless love.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
The Rolodex is a little slower, but
That's a perfect line. Oh, my goodness.
Eddie also sang.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Eddie is your,
Bill also sang.
Bill.
Bill and Eddie and Gold Rush, they all sang.
Yeah, what else say?
okay, who else was in Gold Rush?
Tommy Breswa,
Yeah.
Gene Quasiari. That was it.
Eddie and Bill.
Yeah.
Eddie and Bill. Okay, so when you and Eddie took over the shop, okay, who were the other folks on the street? Who were the nearby businesses, the neighbor businesses?
You know, none of the ones that are there now were. There was a sub shop down right under the bridge that we used to go to all the time. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was an Italian restaurant. It wasn't a sub shop, but they made the best subs on earth. Can't remember the name. Constantino's was down there still. It was still Constantino's. We lived, it was funny because we lived around the corner. We lived on Scott Street, a half block away.
Okay,
We had one of those little row houses there. And really at that time, we either didn't have kids or maybe Robin was just about
It was
getting ready.
Lavecchia's Bakery, and then
Oh, yeah.
Muzzy's, Angelo's. Was on the other corner. Lincoln Camera Shop there. and that-
Lincoln Camera, yeah. Isn't it funny how we all remember the restaurants? That's the first thing that pops out,
But
absolutely.
there was nothing in Trolley Square. It was still trolleys in there in those days.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, how about that? Still trolleys. Okay, so once you guys got rolling with the drum shop, who were some of your best customers?
I gotta say, honestly, every kid who wanted to play guitar bought a guitar there.
Yeah.
Drummers, we sold drums too, but guitars was what was selling then.
Yeah.
And we just had a monopoly on all the musicians. Every band, every young guy, every kid, even older guys, because we were still young then, I feel it that way, all had to come there. So we knew them all and we,
And George
interacted with
Thornwood
all
used
of
to be in there all the time.
yeah, George was in there. I sold George a bunch of guitars.
Yeah.
Gary Cogdon, at the time, he was playing with Gary Cogdon, Gary
Yes,
Cogdon?
yes. No, no.
Okay, it was Gary's band and George was the, singer, rhythm guitar player. But George liked this particular goofy guitar, and he still plays the same kind. It was a single cutaway hollow body, and it's a really bad guitar. It was a low-end Gibson guitar. But he liked the sound of it, but it had a lot of technical problems. But every time I'd get one, we'd call him and he'd buy it.
And he'd come and scoop it up. Yeah, absolutely. How about, now, did you handle things like pianos? Or you just handled the string instruments and the drum? Okay.
We had electric keyboards. I mean, we sold, electric pianos, but not real pianos.
Got ya. Well, it's hard to tote around a real piano. So if you're talking band, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. It's so cool to know that your wife was supportive, and that she's been a part of this.
She is the best that ever happened.
See, that's that man who likes the love songs.
Yes.
That is that man.
Yep, there you go.
He is that man.
How about your children? Any of those who are interested in music, who play or
Well,
sing?
my son, Todd, got a scholarship to University of Delaware for playing drums, but then he didn't want to play in the band anymore, so he lost the scholarship.
He had it for a year.
But my daughter Tracy has been playing keyboards all along.
And do either of them sing?
No,
No, okay, so you're the voice in the house.
I really am, and that's surprising enough too.
Well, the granddaughters sing.
Well, yeah.
His went that way.
Okay, okay, very cool, very cool. You're gonna keep the music
That
alive.
Jean went that way, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, you're gonna keep the music alive. Well, we're looking forward to spend a little bit of time talking to Eddie Rose show.
Oh, yeah,
Also,
Eddie,
what-
Eddie will have some good stories.
Yeah,
too.
so, you know, hopefully, you'll be a part of that, but this way we have a record of, you. And I wanna thank you so very much for spending this time with us. If you can come up with some pictures or whatever, or as you do, okay, Delaware Rock and Roll, would love to be able to have them and, you know, put you on the wall somewhere and when we get
That'd be
when we
cool.
get a
Building.
a building, thank you, Lois. Gee, I couldn't say Ernie Urkel and the Gigolos, and I know that very well, and now I couldn't even say building.
Yeah, Eddie has, he said, a lot of like sales receipts and a
Oh,
lot
cool.
of things from the drum shop.
Very
A lot
cool.
of the records and pictures and everything.
Very
He said
cool.
he'll dig them out shortly.
All right, super, looking forward to that, that'll be chapter 2.
That's
Yeah,
great.
you guys come on out and see us, at this show. Thanks again so much,
Well, thank you, this was fun.
Thank you, it was
great.
good job.